Damian comes out and says how Rollins' video was inspiring, and we do have some commonalities, but I don't want to be like Rollins. I don't want to see my successor, who is bigger, stronger, and better. And as long as I'm champion, Seth never will get to the top of the mountain again. So Seth
So,
comes out.
so I find like the Damian Priest character like pretty interesting right now because they're having to play this very like pretty delicate balancing act between him being the leader of a heel faction, yet like being a very clear sort of like well-meaning human being who we're supposed to eventually see as a full-on babyface. So they're having him come out and like he's opposing Seth Rollins, who's one of your biggest baby faces on the brand, and he can't necessarily like talk shit about Seth Rollins the way a heel would. So he's coming out and doing things like, I get it. I get what you're saying. I understand your opinion, which is, I think, a great way
I
to
hate. I don't like the like catering to the baby. It feels so much like Diesel when he won the title, and all of a sudden he's like, you're just your, you can't offend any babyface. I think if anything, it's everything like we've learned from the Swerve character. Like I think that a lot of people will respond better to baby faces that have some edge to them, that are that are not so I've got to be so in the middle here, which is what I found this to be, especially this.
So that's another question, because like, is the audience buying into this? Is like they're asking a lot of the audience, again, to see this guy as the leader of a heel faction while at the same time liking him enough so that we're getting ready for a full-on babyface turn. And in this segment, when Seth Rollins came out, they were booing Damian Priest pretty loudly.
Yeah,
So
I think this guy is, he's fine in this role. I don't think he's risen to be this unbelievable champion in this role. I also don't think he's like crumbling under the role where it feels like he's being overpushed. But you like, for the reasons you outlined, that he's all these different things, I just think like this audience, it's like they just sway in the wind with their opinions of this guy, in terms of like, it's not so much the character that defines their opinion of him, it's the scenario he's placed upon. And you could get a super babyface response one week, heel the next week, and that's not the worst thing. But I feel a lot of when like Adam Copeland was first coming up pre-Lita and everything, and it was like an audience that liked this guy but didn't love this guy, disliked this guy but they didn't hate this guy. It was sort of like these middling emotions, and I think that's where Damian Priest is right now. I don't think you've had that. Like, the defining moment of this guy's run so far has been overcoming adversity at Clash at the Castle, when he got trapped in the ropes and powered his way to finish the match. Like, that seems to have been like the memorable moment so far of these 2 months, was him finishing that match.
And I don't think they played that up enough, to emphasize, I think, what ultimately like a heroic sort of moment that was, right? Yeah, absolutely. I think like by this point we can probably assess the Damian Priest run as like okay, like he's doing the performer is doing everything that I think he's being asked of, but like it's not special to the level that I think, the standard of like a Cody or like a Roman Reigns or a lot of people like in that upper echelon. At the same time, first title runs are often this sort of level, like, I don't know, like how many title runs did Roman Reigns need in order to get to the level that he's at? Like, I don't think like the company certainly would look at him like, too differently coming off of this, but like, is it acceptable for a first title run, I guess?
Again, it's been fine, and you certainly are like, certainly he has not been a detriment to Raw, or for, like, again, like, it's, I don't think this is the guy that is moving numbers, but he's certainly not hindering them either. So like, it's just, it feels like incomplete. Like, he's fine in the role, but I think people are ready to kind of have something more to really sink their teeth into this character, that, something like, we compare where Drew was a year ago to now. It's night and day in terms of, fine performer, good speaker, but now it's.
But Drew's another name. Like, when he had his first title run, did he achieve like like the comparisons that I think we're trying to put on Damian Priest right now?
It was really tough, because I really felt he was starting to hit that. And it was that last Raw in front of crowds. It was like in Brooklyn, and man, they went nuts for him in a segment with Brock. And then boom, it's like you didn't have crowds, and it was and that was the question, was like, when crowds come back, are we going to see? And Drew was kind of in a lower role at that point, and didn't feel like he was a top level guy. He felt like he was the next rung below, and that's kind of where I feel Damian Priest is right now. Like, that's not a bad position to be in, but you are going to have that pressure when you're in this title picture. And I mean, he does have a full summer of programs set up for him, and I think you'll get a better kind of grading for him by the end of this summer and where he is.
I like this comment from John Taylor in the chat room. This is the part of his future documentary where Damian talks about his first title run being underwhelming and he didn't figure himself yet until his second run. Could be true, but you know, the idea of like a character not figuring themselves out, I think, is kind of evident with Damian Priest. I would agree. Just as the way it's been for a lot of people when they win their first championships. They're the company's chosen guys, but they're not fully realized yet.
I'm just picturing the documentary segment where it's like, man, they were just putting me in roles that you would never see a champion in, and then we cut to, enjoy your video games, guys.
That's something Kevin Nash would say for sure.
The check cleared. Rollins comes out and plugs the Royal Rumble. Man, we got a lot out of that opening line from Damian Priest. So he says that he doesn't believe Priest when he says that Seth won't win the title again, and you're filling things in with false bravado or showing that. He says your actions and your words don't line up. You say all the right things about not wanting anyone's help, but then in both of your title defenses, you got help from the Judgment Day and CM Punk that helped you stay with the title. And with that, after like he did this like babyface introduction, boom, this is what I mean. The whole crowd starts chanting, "You suck," at Damian Priest. All it took was like a simple little like gust of wind, and the house of cards falls in terms of this audience's loyalty to Damian Priest. They hate this guy now. Priest says he never asked for help. Rollins represents the past, which I found amusing given like he's the older of the two, but I guess maybe in main event years, he's the younger one. Rollins has his challenge for Money in the Bank, and he puts up a side bet where he says, if I lose to you, Priest, I will never challenge you again for the championship, which great thing that we have multiple world titles in this company. And if I win, you leave the Judgment Day. And Damian Priest comes back and says, the Judgment Day need me a lot more than I need them, and shakes on it. They agree to the side bet, which I guess it's just their word that is going to hold this up. I mean, Cody Rhodes was probably telling Seth, hey, make sure it's only during this title reign. Don't make it indefinite.
Yeah, I think that's well, I think it'd be too ridiculous to believe if like Rollins put up his entire career he can't challenge for a title, right?
Just for this reign.
Yeah, I think it's a really good stipulation. You know, like it adds an extra level of intrigue to a match that I think I was already pretty intrigued by, and it does put the story of Damian Priest's loyalty to the Judgment Day into focus. And they're really ramping up the idea that he would be leaving, or that I guess he could get turned on, you know, as a result of this entire Liv Morgan, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio thing. And I find the result of this Money in the Bank match at this point kind of tough to predict. I know, like, we were discussing this maybe when the match was announced, and I think a lot of people were still on the side of like Damian Priest retaining. But I think you can't discount Rollins at this point, because I think, for one thing, Rollins versus Gunther is a bigger match, you know, for really any market. And I think it's a bigger win for Gunther to beat Rollins than it is for Damian Priest. Also, it would satisfy Priest leaving the Judgment Day and just kind of like, you know, lead to that story very easily. But when I think more about it, like, I don't think Priest is the type of character, if he's supposed to be a babyface, who should be forced out of the Judgment Day. Like, I think he should be kicked out, or he should willingly quit. So that might lead me a bit more towards Priest winning. That's all to say, I like the stipulation because it adds a bit more intrigue.
Who wins the side bet if Drew were to cash in and make this a three-way and then he wins? Do they both get out of the side bet?
I think they both would lose, right? Well, okay, so if Priest isn't champion anymore, then Rollins could challenge, so I guess he doesn't lose the side bet.
And then
Priest would have to leave the Judgment Day. Wait, no. Seth said if I win.
Yeah, he said if I win, and he wouldn't win.
You're right. I guess it's moot then.
And then we have the return of Gunther in his navy blue suit. And man, if the camera shoots him at the right angle, I swear he's slowly becoming Julius Creed. I mean, he is
Okay.
this guy is so much smaller than I remember this guy walking out SummerSlam weekend in Toronto, where he was easily like every bit of like 300 pounds and just coming out in that like his black trunks here in Toronto.
Remember when we saw him against PCO at Spring Break?
Yes.
What a great match that was.
Yes.
My first time seeing Walter live, he looks like a completely different man, you know. But I like modern Walter Gunther, you know, like I like GQ Gunther, you know, like he is successful.
What about GQ PCO?
I would love that too. There's another level to PCO, I'm sure, somewhere in there. But I think so clearly Ginny is dressing this guy, and she's doing a great job of it. Okay, because like the man looks great in the suits, and like the ankle socks with the brown sort of a loafer type of things.
He looks so tiny here, like next to these two. Like Seth
away.
is not the biggest man in the world, but he looks, just from this angle, he looks like he's like twice the size of this guy.
You understand the concept of perspective, right, John? Like he's in the distance. The other two are closer to the camera.
I don't know. I don't even see Gunther here. Is he even in the ring yet?
But to me, he doesn't appear any less scary because I think like now he's got he's got his words, you know. He comes out, he does his lines, he kills it, drops the mic, and he leaves. I really did enjoy this appearance.
He said he respects both men, wishes them good luck. I can't wait to see your match, and may the better man win. But the better man between them will be the lesser man against me at SummerSlam.
Great line.
Great line.